Today we are taking a peek at the Jets schedule. Got a friend of the show. Actually, you all know him. You all love him just like me, my buddy, New York Jets sit rep. How's it going, Gunny?
Yo, what's up, Dano? Man, I'm living the dream, bro. Living the dream, man. Football is back. Preseason is in full effect. The Jets play preseason football this week, so I'm excited, man. We're just inching closer and closer towards the big day of the season starting. So, man, pumped to be here. I appreciate the invite.
And a lot of people did these videos back when the schedule came out, but for one, I was very infant stages at that point. But for two, we had to see the draft, we had to see the free agency. This is really like being on the eve of preseason is really when I wanted to do it. Maybe circle back to it on the eve of the real kickoff, but I think we just have a good understanding right now of what these teams will be. Do you agree?
100%. I think well, when you see it all come together, come to fruition, we've had a couple of opportunities now to see these guys in training camp. We've seen them in OTAs. The roster is pretty much coming together. There's no more really big surprises. Yeah, there's going to be some additions here and there after some cuts start to happen. But in terms of the solidified roster, you got them. You got guys like freaking Mike Williams, who's ahead of schedule, who's healthy now, about to go ahead and start taking some snaps. We got to see Morgan Moses as well on the other side on the offensive line. You're seeing it how it all comes together, and then we got to watch the joint practice the other day, where literally it looked like it's going to be a fun season. So, yeah, I think now when you start talking about predictions, we've got enough pieces from every training camp, every other team to include our own to kind of make an educated analysis.
Agreed wholeheartedly. I mean, Twitter is awesome for that, man, because if someone gets cooked, guess what? We all know about it.
We all can see it. Yep, we all can see it.
I, I never even heard of Emmanuel Forbes 2 days ago, you know?
I had no clue who he was, but apparently he was their top pick for defense. He's their number one cornerback. All I know is he got roasted by freaking Garrett Wilson for an entire joint practice.
So, getting into this, I talked to Gunny about this backstage, but just to tell the viewers, a lot of people when they go through the schedule, they want to go week by week and really cherry pick the games that we're going to lose. But we all know the NFL, man. It's really really key to win the turnover battle. So what we're going to do today is we're kind of going to break it down almost like by month. And it'll really give you a gauge on I'd say the key stretches even.
Right.
Um, I think we all know that section after the bye is going to be difficult, but
Facts.
if you look at it in smaller chunks, there's even some harder stretches. So here's the full schedule. Let me get you the first chunk that I want to look at, and that is this one here. Now, it starts out, we all know, San Francisco. We got two road games right away off the bat. And I would say if they were in the opposite order, we'd have at least one very easy one. But the
Right.
way that they're ordered, going to San Francisco and then you might have an emotional high, coming back. You also have back-to-back road games, and then we got our two home games. So, what do you see when you look at this, Gunny, for our September slate of games?
Yeah, for me, when I first look at it, man, you look at it and it's 3 games in 10 days. I think that's what really pops up when it comes to this. 3 games in 10 days. You're talking about, a 40-year-old Rodgers. You're talking about an older freaking offensive line in terms of Tyron Smith and Morgan Moses. Mike Williams coming off of that injury as well. It really doesn't give you a lot of rest, a lot of R&R time frame between games. So that really pops up to me whenever I see it. But really, when I look at this portion of the schedule, man, I see that September 9th game being a statement game for the New York Jets and what to expect of who they're going to be for this season.
And really, I mean, a lot hinges on that game. It's not that we have to win it. It's
Facts.
really that we just have to play like men. You know what I mean?
Facts. Yep.
Go out there and show that you're at least a playoff caliber team, in my opinion. You can be rusty and still achieve that.
100%. I think that just seeing how these guys go toe to toe with the Super Bowl runner ups, right, and the 49ers is going to kind of give you an idea of what to expect from this team. And I'm with you. I don't think we have to win this game. But it can't be a blowout. It can't be embarrassing. It can't be as if we didn't belong, what I'm saying, in this game with this team. It's Aaron Rodgers. It's Aaron Rodgers in prime time. You have a revamped roster. I do believe in terms of like best rosters in the NFL, you're right there in the conversation with the 49ers. So we got to see it on the field. Yeah, I think when it comes to coaching, they're probably going to have us beat there. But I think when it comes to overall, I like our quarterback better than I like freaking their quarterback. Purdy's done some great things, but he's no Aaron Rodgers. And I think that's going to be the catalyst of which quarterback has a better game that game. Because otherwise, man, the rest of the rosters are very, very similar. Like they should go toe to toe with each other. So yeah, for me, it's not about winning the game, although I would love to win the game. I think it's about making sure that they belong with these guys on the field.
Now, I like what you said about it really hinging on quarterback play. When we look at it like that, you got Purdy week one. Then you go, I don't know if we're going to, maybe just fly straight to Tennessee. I mean, I kind of wish that we would, but we do have back to back road games. Purdy, we got Will Levis behind an actually very solid offensive line, Bill
Yep.
Callahan.
Yep.
Um, then we're going to come home. Like you said, that third game in 10 days, we're going to be divisional games. So we don't even get to really rest our heels because regardless of what you think about New England, that's a divisional game and it's going to be a smash mouth game. Um, Now you're going to stay home. You also got Denver, which we're hoping is that really rest and take a beat. Um, but with all that said, these four games, Gunny, what do you think is a realistic expectation for our record over these four?
Yeah, no, if I'm being honest, I think, realistically speaking, in this particular stretch, I think 3-1 is very feasible. But I see nothing less than 2-2. But for me, I'm going to go with 3-1 just because I really kind of love what I've seen thus far in training camp. You're seeing a lot of our guys get healthy. The players that matter are healthy. Mike Williams apparently being healthy as well. Malachi Corley is showing up. Braden Allen. The run game, I think, is going to be a big component of carrying us in this stretch, using those young legs to go ahead and offset some of the strain on our guy like Aaron Rodgers, as a Mike Williams, of course, heals up. So for me, when I look at this, I see 3-1. I don't see any scenario in which we come out of this, better, worse than 2-2. But I'm gonna go with 3-1 in this stretch.
All right, so getting into a little bit of October here, let's take a look at this section. And what jumps out at you when you see this?
All right. So the October stretch. In all actuality, I look at the two divisional games. When you look at this, you're talking about the Buffalo Bills, and then you're also talking about freaking the Patriots again for the second game of the season. Um, but in all actuality, man, I also see some unproven quarterbacks that we get to go ahead and play again, and a Josh Allen led team, man, in prime time, where the Jets have already gotten the best of him when we didn't have a quarterback, but now we do have an Aaron Rodgers who feasts on primetime games. So I look at this stretch, man, and I love it. If I'm being honest with you, I think this is going to be a friendly stretch for the Jets. If I had to tell you there was a fear factor in this particular rotation, I think the fear factor for me lies in the October 20th game, the game that we're at. Obviously, we're going to be at that Steelers Jets versus Steelers game. But when you look into what the Steelers have done in the offseason, they are kind of going under the radar. I think the addition of Justin Fields is very underrated. A lot of individuals are writing him off, but this is a guy that did a lot of damage on the ground as a quarterback for a Chicago Bears team that really didn't have much help. Weapons wise, offensive line wise, I'd even say coaching wise. So we already know he's a scary option when it comes to his legs. And let's not forget, this is a guy who dominated at the college level as well when he could go ahead and utilize his deep ball, which is a strength of his that he didn't really get to use much, in Chicago. So I don't think he just forgot how to play that. I think now with some legitimate weapons around him, specifically if they get their hands on Brandon Ayuk, that's going to be a concern. So when I look at this stretch as well, I have us at 3-1. Not necessarily a loss to either the Steelers or the Bills. I just think in that stretch we're going to go 3-1 as well. But
Mhm.
specifically, that October 20th game is the one that I'm like, man, that could probably go either way. I feel for some reason oddly confident us against the Bills October 14th.
Yeah, you know what? And when I look at it, first off, like again, I agree with you, 3-1 as well. I do see like there's not a very easy gimme on this slate because the Vikings. A lot of people would say that, but when you're traveling to London. who knows?
Yep.
And then the Patriots, and that's actually in Foxborough. I mean, three of these being away. I really just hope that we take a chance to really rest somewhere in this stretch, um, because we still got a couple more games before we really get the rest. But I could see it being like, hopefully there's no hangover after London is all I'm saying, but at least 2 wins. I like the 3-1 though. Let's go there. Um, the next stretch, and we got some stretches coming up that are going to be interesting. Right now though, we're sitting at roughly 6-2, and I like that.
I'm a fan of that.
Yeah, we need to get ahead of it before some of these really brutal stretches come. All right. So we still got a little bit of October, but I wanted to lump these together because you can really see that 11-day rest period that we get right after Houston, since we play on Thursday night. But you also end it with the bye. So we got a little 10-day buffer here, or 11-day buffer. And then after we play Indy, you got like another 2 weeks of rest there. So I think that's really when see, and that's why I really don't want to have that hang up after London, because if we can make it after week 9, dude, we're going to be benefiting from it. But Gunny, what do you see here?
Listen, for this one, I'm actually very, very excited about that matchup against the Houston Texans. I think last year C.J. Stroud was electrifying. Right, we were able to go ahead and get the best of them, obviously in their house. But this is a team that I believe is on the come up. I love what they've done in the offseason. They've only gotten better. The addition of Stephon Diggs, they're going to have Tank Dell back healthy. I'm sorry, Nico Collins back healthy. And you're going into year 2 into the system. And what CJ Stroud did last year, man, was nothing short of just marvelous. This is a kid who I think is going to be one of the faces of the at quarterback in the NFL. But when it comes down to it, I do believe our defense is better geared for this matchup. So that should be an interesting game. Another one that's surprising to me a little bit is the Colts. Right, again, a very very talented roster. Jonathan Taylor, he'll hopefully if he's healthy, you know what I'm saying, he could be a nightmare for a lot of defenses. I look at this stretch and I would love to tell you 2-1, but I just look at the stretch and believe like the lull of being 6-2 kind of gets to us a little bit, and people are thinking about that bye week, and I could see us going 1-2 here. That is not what I want to happen, but I'm looking at this stretch. I think there's going to be a thing between us and the Texans. I think in terms of D'Amico
Yes.
Ryan, Coach Salah, kind of, I think it's going to be a back and forth with those guys. It wouldn't shock me if we drop one there. And the Colts, to me, I think might be a surprise factor because again, a healthy Jonathan Taylor propels that running game right there into that top tier. So again, we were 6-2 coming into this. I think we're feeling ourselves a little too much. The bye week's right around the corner. We're already looking forward. I got us going 1-2 in this stretch, and I'm hoping that I'm wrong when it comes to that.
I do like what you mentioned about the Colts too, because think about it. You got a healthy Anthony Richardson. And to be honest, I'm kind of glad we do, because I mean, if you look at this stretch, you got the big arm in Stroud, but then you got two athletic quarterbacks. You got Kyler Murray, which very polarizing player. I wouldn't sleep on their offense either. Maybe stealing a touchdown or so off of us. But then what I'm saying is, you got Kyler Murray and Anthony Richardson back to back. Are your legs still fresh? Because they better be. Um, but with Houston, I wanted to ask you, if we pummel CJ Stroud again like we did last year, do you at all worry that they could go to their QB4 that they added this offseason, Tim Boyle?
I don't think there's a scenario on this planet in which Tim Boyle will actually see playing time again. The only way that happens is if he was a New York Jet, which we got to witness last year. I don't believe 31 other teams in the NFL would make that mistake. So, no, I don't see a scenario in any capacity where Tim Boyle will be getting any kind of relevant snaps in the 2024 season.
You know what? Something to note though about Houston is they did add Joe Mixon this
They
offseason too.
did. They
So
did.
yeah, that'll be very interesting to see how we can, like, I do think if you're going to attack this Jets defense, do you have a very athletic running back and do you have a very athletic quarterback? Because those are really the X factors. I mean, tight end as well, but not many have those. So again, you said what on this stretch?
I'm
One
going to go
and
one and
two,
two. I'm gonna go 1-2
and
on this
and
stretch.
And that's realistic, man. You know that
Yeah,
it's realistic. Can we win all three? Of course we
a
can.
hundred
Of
percent, hundred
course.
percent.
But like we talked about, London, and then you're going to Pittsburgh, and you're going to Foxborough, and between that you're staying at home, but you're taking the Bills. So like eventually you're going to have that little lull, and guess what? We want it now instead of later.
100%. Give
Um,
it to me now in October before November and December gets here.
and again, let's take a beat here because we do have that buy. And I think it will really allow us to assess where we are as a football team. Um, who knows? Maybe we attack the trade deadline already at this point.
Good
But
old Devontae Adams is in the building. You know what I'm saying?
I
Hey,
love it, dude. I love it.
you never know.
You know what? Like I said, though, Kyler Murray, then we had Anthony Rich. We do get a rest. Then we got Gino coming to town. What do you think about this slate?
So this stretch to me is going to be an interesting one, right? Because you're talking about, and again, an AFC opponent in the Miami Dolphins, who I believe are going to be the competitor for the Jets to win the AFC East. I do believe the Bills take a step backwards and the Dolphins take a step forward this year. But now we're coming into that December timeframe, right? We're talking about some post November games for the Dolphins, and granted, yeah, it's going to be in Miami, but they just seem to just go into a lull when it comes to teams after Thanksgiving. It becomes tough for them. So I look at this group of games. The Geno Smith one, I'm excited for that one. I think right now with the new coaching, they're going to go through a process as well. I don't think they have the dogs. They don't have the dogs on defense. They don't have the dogs on offense. It'll be fun to see Gino back in the building, but I'm not really too worried about that one. That Miami Dolphins game is the one I look at, and I'm like, man, again, division, like you said, divisional rival. I think those guys are going to be in that conversation for the AFC East title. That should be interesting. The Jacksonville Jaguars, another group of individuals that I look at, again, they've got some talent on that roster. I am not a believer in Trevor Lawrence. I do believe they got there with what they had to pay that kid. But ultimately, in this stretch, I got us going 2-1.
Just to recap, that has us sitting at about 9-5. All right, last slide here before I let you go, Gunny. The really, in my opinion, the hardest stretch of the year. Um, just because of the timing of it, the
Mm-hmm.
wear and tear of all season. How is Aaron's legs at that point?
At
You know,
that
his
point,
arm. I don't doubt his arm, but how is his legs? How is our offensive line? Are they still intact? If not, is Olu, ready for play postseason football like that? I want to see. But also the Rams coming to town. I am really circling that because that's another playoff team, and they got some horses in the backfield. They drafted Blake Corum, who has thighs bigger than my waist, and he's sitting behind Kyron Williams, who is explosive as hell. But you follow that up with two divisional games that most likely those teams are going to be scratching and clawing for their life. Hell, if we're 9-5 at this point too, we are also scratching and clawing. Let me know what you see when you look at these final three games.
so I love these final three games, right? Because one, two of these teams like to play in warm weather. They're coming into our house by December. It's going to be cold. We're going to have some really really crappy weather. Both of those teams also have been known to be passing teams. Miami Dolphins and of course the LA Rams. Now they got to come to our side of town facing what arguably is going to be a top three freaking passing defense, but they also lost a lot of key pieces on defense. The Rams right now are a team that, in all actuality, they're staying relevant off of name alone. All those, f those picks that they dealt with early on has come back to haunt them. I don't know if they have the horses right now to go ahead and keep up with this roster. And you're right. At this point, we're asking the questions: Are is Tyron Smith still in the game? Right? Is Morgan Moses still a go? Is Aaron Rodgers? I'm saying legs good to go. But whether or not those guys are playing, I do believe we've got the depth on the offensive line this time around to go ahead and kind of endure some injuries if need be. But you're still going to have a guy like Garrett Wilson, Mike Williams, Corley, who should be coming into his own by then, Alan Lazard, who's looked really good in camp. That's going to open up a lot of things for the running game. And this is where I think Brees Hall and Braylon Allen are going to make a name for themselves. this 3 game stretch right here, I believe wholeheartedly is going to be a ground and pound type of a scenario. I don't see anything in terms of defensively where I look at and I'm like, I'm shooketh of these teams. And I think this is where the run game is going to actually feast. I have us going 3-0 when it comes to this last stretch. And I say that because I am going to give the Buffalo Bills one at home. I am going to give the Miami Dolphins one at their house, Buffalo Bills in our house. But I believe in this stretch right here, it's going to be about, like you said, clawing and scratching. I believe in Aaron Rodgers more when his back's against the wall, and I think we've got the best running backs at this point of the season. Is going to be known that we have the best running backs in football, and they're going to feast along with our defense. So we're going 3-0 in this stretch.
You know what? And I like it. And you said it there at the tail end. Our defense, man. We've seen this defense with their backs against the wall pretty much for 2 seasons straight.
Yep.
And that was without that little carrot dangling.
Yep.
I, dude, when they see December football and they see the playoffs in their sight when they've been pretty much robbed of the opportunity for 2 straight seasons, dude, their hairs are going to be. I really, I could see us giving up just what 2 touchdowns this whole
In this
stretch.
whole
This,
stretch, exactly.
yes. Um, just because I really do think that the motivation's going to be there, and they're really going to be chomping at the bit to get that wild card berth. Actually, at this point, it's a
You're fighting for the
divisional
AFC
berth.
East. Yeah,
Yes,
you're at
sir.
this
Yes,
point right
sir.
now. I think it's going to be us and the Bills. I'm sorry, us and the Dolphins for the AFC East.
Nice. I like that. I like that. Dude, Gunny, that puts us at a golden 12-5. How does that look to you?
I think that's fair. I think when you look at this team, man, how it's all been put together, I think Joe Douglas did a masterful job in creating a roster that should be in that realm of 11 to 13 wins. I do believe the ceiling for this team is 13. I believe the floor is 10. That's on. That's just literally base 10 wins for this team. So right there, that 12 wins right there is in the sweet spot. I think that's exactly. I'm not saying it's exactly where we're going to be. I would love for us to go 17-0. I would love for us to win 15, 14 games. But I think 12 is realistic for what this roster has looks like, and that's including us dropping a couple of games we probably shouldn't drop, you know what I'm saying, throughout the season. But when I talk about this particular stretch, I feel confident in that 3-0 because of our running game and because of our defense, because you're right. At this point, we're probably going to have some question marks about Aaron Rodgers and his legs. But I can also say this. Aaron Rodgers plays extremely well in November and December. Like he seems to thrive in those cold weather games. So I'm not putting anything past that man. He could very well be in the conversation for the MVP, like MVP talks right now at this part of the
Yep.
season. But for me, my confidence lies in the running game and the defense when it comes to this stretch.
1998, man.
Yep.
That was my very first season watching every game, and dude, we've never had an offense that could measure up since.
Since then.
This one, though, while we match their 12 wins, I think we blow the efficiency of their offense out of the
100%.
water with. I really do.
Yeah, at this point of the year, we're talking about Aaron Rodgers breaking quarterback records for the New York Jets, Garrett Wilson breaking wide receiver records for the New York Jets, Brees Hall being in the conversation of the number one running back in football, along with CMC. Maybe Robinson, BJ Robinson, being in the conversation as well. But I believe we're going to see records, New York Jets records broken this season on our offense.
Facts. Gunny, dude, I hella appreciate you doing this with me. It was fun to do it, like not exactly like everybody else, because
Yeah,
I do
fun.
think that we might be wrong here, but right here, and it'll give us a better average that I
Right.
think it's gonna play, dude. I really do think that this will be fairly accurate, assuming that we don't just see scorched earth Aaron Rodgers. But if that's it, I'm fine being wrong if that's the
I'm fine
case.
being wrong with that too. And again, that's the unknown factor, right? Everybody is writing this man off as being done, washed up. Listen, it's not in his arm, right? It's not in his brain and his IQ. The only thing I can think of is he going to be able to stay on the field? And if he stays on the field, it would not shock me in the least bit if we get scorched earth Aaron Rodgers. If we're
Facts.
talking MVP Aaron Rodgers by midseason. But again, I think in terms of how you played this out, I love how you did this in terms of breaking it down in sections. It's more of an accurate depiction, you know what I'm saying, of legitimate analysis, vice, the optimism fandom that is, I'm saying, most YouTubers.
Yep. And I think a lot of our viewers probably bet on games, and they can tell no matter how confident you are in predicting the winner of a
Yeah.
game, dude, a tipped ball, a fumble slop fest, things happen,
Crappy
dude.
freaking call from
And
the refs.
thank you.
Change it
But
out.
over the course of a season, it usually smooths out. Without holding you any longer, Gunny, I do want to ask you. I know you got some new stuff happening on your channel. Will you tell the people what you got going on, where they can find you?
Yeah, sure. You can find me at New York Jets Situation Report. I'm on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, but on YouTube specifically, right now we got some some awesome things happening. We've got membership access now on the channel. Membership access is going to allow you access to our fantasy football league. It's free entry to my supporters and whatnot. But at the end of the year, the champion gets a Sauce Gardner jersey, and if I happen to be the individual that wins it, my channel members get put into a pool to also get the jersey. I will auction it off to not auction it off, but I'll pick a winner from the members in terms of a pool, a live random drawing. If I happen to be the person that wins in my fantasy football league. On top of that, I'm trying to get to 2,000 subs, man. Been a long fight. I'm about 400 away. Looking to go ahead and get there. Upon doing that, I'm looking to go ahead and do another giveaway for a Joe Namath jersey. So an autographed Joe Namath jersey. So got a couple of fun things happening on my channel, man. And throughout the season, I'm always doing some kind of a giveaway. In fact, my dealer, aka Gino, the Italy Jets, is sending me my batch of goodies for the season. So I'm going to have a whole bunch of stuff that I'm going to be putting out there to include a Tyler Conklin mini helmet that I have to get out to Vero Jets for being my first channel member. I haven't forgotten you. I'm going to send that out to you here probably in the next couple of days. But yeah, man, exciting stuff, man. Football's back. I'm excited, man. So come check us out at New York Jets Situation Report.
Tuesdays, 9 o'clock Eastern, right?
Correct. That is correct. Yep.
Hell yeah. Well, dude, appreciate you. Have a good Friday, man.
You too, brother.
All
Go
right,
Jets.
later. JETS.